Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Betrayed by Everyone and Becomes Konig to Take Revenge Movie 1. Before we start, please go support Draco24 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Issei was betrayed and deceived. Chapter 1. Sometimes a monster is born from the best hero, but other times it can end up being the other way around. It was a quiet day in the city of Kwa, and we can see a chestnut tree on top of the academy drinking an orange juice, and he was somewhat thoughtful. Issei, it's been 4 months since the defeat of the Chaos Brigade and the liberation of the Trihexa. To finish drinking their juice. Issei, after that the girls stopped being around me and Drake doesn't talk to me anymore, and I've tried to communicate with him, but something stops me. I'd better go see how the girls are. Starting to go down and heading to the occult club, but before entering he feels the presence of the girls and his friends inside, and it was somewhat confusing, but he didn't take it seriously and entered. As he got closer he could sense the aroma that he knew and didn't like at all, and as he got closer he could hear lascivious sounds, and fear finally took hold of him, and already standing in front of the door he hesitated to open it, but a scream from Rias made him enter, and what he found surprised him, and tears began to flow from his eyes. They were all girls and they were naked, and not only that, but there were their friends and acquaintances fucking. Issei, what does all this mean? Everyone stopped when they heard Issei's scream, and they all turned their gaze towards him, and the girls, seeing their beloved there, tried to say something but the words wouldn't come out. On the other hand, Issei had several mixed feelings: anger, sadness, pain, anxiety, and above all anguish. The girls, Issei, this is not what you think it is, we can explain it to you. Issei, explain. They want to explain to me that all this time they were bucking them behind my back. They just remained silent, and Issei, knowing this, felt worse and his aura began to grow and get out of control. Ophis, seeing this, wanted to stop him, but she couldn't because her hip hurt so much. Issei, I thought you loved me, but it all turned out to be a lie after all, and I thought you were my friends, but you only turned out to be miserable and disgusting sons of hitches. Lifting his face, showing his eyes, but instead of being green they were red. Out of nowhere he manifested the booster gear glove against Dragswell, who tried to stop him, but it was impossible. His partner's rage was much stronger. Issei, I don't care about anything anymore. I'll kill them here and now. Balance breaker. Once in his armor, he begins to accumulate energy and destroys the entire club, leaving it completely destroyed. Those who were inside managed to protect themselves in time from the explosion of power, and from among the smoke, Vali on his armor gave him a strong blow to the face, but that apparently did not affect him at all. Issei, Vali, I consider you as a brother to me, but now I no longer consider you as such. Taking his arm and ending up breaking it, causing him to let out a cry of pain and wanting to divide his power, he ends up spitting blood since his power was too dense. Issei, you're trying to drain my power. Well, let me tell you something, you won't achieve anything since right now you're fighting a dragon god. Grabbing his helmet and crashing it against the brown-haired boy's helmet, causing it to break. Issei, you know, I admired you before, I felt jealous because of how great you were, but now just seeing you and knowing what you did makes me feel sorry and above all disgust. Charging in attack, but a line is tied to his arm courtesy of Saji, who yelled at Serorg to attack him, and so he shot at the brown-haired boy, hitting him in the chest of his armor, causing him to release Vali. Serorg, you're not that strong anymore. Look, I managed to dent your armor. Issei, you know why? If you look at your hand you might be in for a surprise. Serorg, somewhat confused, looked at his hand to notice that it was completely broken and ended up letting out a loud, heartbreaking scream. Issei, come here Saji, I want to ask you something. Stretching the line and drawing Saji in front of him. Issei, tell me why you did it. I consider you a friend. Tell me why you did it. Answer me. Saji, I did it out of jealousy. I was jealous of how pretty girls approached you like that. So I couldn't stand it anymore, so I used my dragon pheromones and slept with your girls. Issei, with whom? Saji doesn't answer, but a strong grip on his neck makes his face turn blue from lack of air. Issei, tell me who you slept with. Saji, I slept with Irina, Asia and Zenobia. Issei, knowing who he slept with, couldn't contain himself any longer and let him go, and then with the line of his sacred gear he began to whip him from one side to the other, and ended up hitting Serorg and Val in the process, leaving them seriously injured. But then several magic circles began to open, and from these came the leaders of the different factions who, upon seeing what was happening, did not know how to respond. Issei, tell me, leaders that I consider friends, you knew something about this. No one answered. Everything was complete silence except for the moans of pain from Serorg, Vala and Saji. Issei, your silence is more than enough, and tell me. Partner, you were also involved in all this. Drake, Issei, first calm down and let's talk about this like civilized people. Issei, so if you knew all this and you wanted to hide it from me, I thought we were finally a team, but what a surprise I got, not only those I considered friends, pointing at the leaders. Couples addressing the girls who were just crying for everything that was happening. They had planned to stop all this, but it ended up getting out of control, and now they could only watch helplessly as their loved one was suffering and their partner pointing at himself. Drake felt terrible. Not only did he hide this truth from him, but he had planned to abandon him since he had ruined his title as a celestial, and now this is happening, and all because of his damn pride. Issei, well, you know what, that doesn't matter to me anymore. I only have one thing I want to do, and that is finish off all of you damned, traitorous sons of hitches. A dark energy began to emerge from their body, and they were surprised to find out who it was from. Surzek, impossible, this power is from the Trihexa. Azazel, but how did the brat get his power? Michael, this is bad, the dark power is corrupting him, we fear we must stop it before it is too late. Issei, who continued to release his power, was in an erratic state, and his mind was not thinking clearly, and without realizing that someone had appeared behind him, knocking him out with a blow. Red, look what you caused now. Because of you the boy feels a deep hatred towards all of you. You seriously dislike me, and especially you, Ophis. I thought you were different, but I was wrong with you. You are just a dirty, disgusting dragon. Leaving Issei on the ground so that the leaders could then send their guards to arrest him with shackles that prevented the use of his power. Red, okay, I'm leaving, and this will be the last time I help you, because next time I won't save you and I'll leave you to your own devices. Bye. Leaving the place, the girls ran towards Issei to try to touch him, but the guards prevented them, and Gabriel, who had remained silent, ended up falling to the ground while her wings turned black and tears came out of her eyes. Gabriel, what have we done? We ended up corrupting the heart of someone so pure and good, and now I can only feel a deep emptiness in him, and his heart is in pieces, but what have we done? Chapter 2. 3 weeks had already passed since the attack that caused Issei, and since then he has been locked inside a special prison that suppressed his power. But unknown to anyone, much less the leaders, was that the elders were sending several guards to torture him, since his weapon was trying to reveal itself to them, since they always saw Issei as a weapon. But what they didn't know was that a monster was growing inside Issei, and every time they tortured him that monster was growing without Drake knowing it. Speaking of Drake, he was trying to talk to his partner in his mental space, but something prevented him from being able to talk to him, and the former bearers also tried to help him, but an unknown force kept them away from him. With the girls they tried to fix things with him, but nothing worked. Even once, due to their carelessness, Asia almost ended up being killed by Issei, who had grabbed her with the chains and was strangling her with the chains with the sole objective of killing her, but she was saved because the guards stopped him in time before he managed to break her neck. They knew something, and it was that their Issei was no longer the same as before. He was different. Meeting room. Surzek, I flatly refuse. I will not allow that. I am the Mao Lucifer. Elder, even so, we were around much longer than you in the time of Lucifer, and therefore we are your superiors. Azazel, but what you are asking for is impossible and also stupid. Old man too, understand that this will be the best for everyone, since that monster only has one wish, and that is to see us dead. Michael, but removing his sacred gear and exiling him from the supernatural is too much. Elder 3, they only have 2 options, either he will be executed for his crimes or he will be exiled. Surzek, what kind of crimes? If we are the criminals here for having hidden the whole truth from him, we should be executed or exiled. Old man, First he hurt the last descendant of Lucifer, second he hurt another clan heir, and finally he has become too strong to control. Just look at all the damage caused by a single attack. Seraphim. But even though he did it, it was because we provoked him, and when we tried to explain it to him, he only ended up entering a state of blind fury towards us. He is not the villain but us, so I refuse all this. Goodbye. So everyone left, leaving the elders who were just discussing something. Old man, for well, if they won't do anything then we will do it anyway. He's just a dirty dragon that should be under our command but still refuses to obey his masters. They left the place, and then at nightfall they arrived at the prison, and the guards, upon seeing them, opened the doors for them to enter and see how they were beating him. But Issei did not put up any resistance, and did not let out any cry of pain since his eyes only reflected a dark void. Old man, very well, ungrateful brat, you are going to obey us. Issei, upon hearing the old man's voice, just spat in his face. Old man, damn brat, now you'll see, the day has come when we'll be free from your disgusting presence. But first you have something that belongs to us. Entering the other elders who brought a device that they stole from Azazel's laboratory that could extract energy, and also extract sacred gear, only it was still a prototype. Old man too, hold him tight and don't let him move. At that point Drake appears and says in an angry voice. Drake, damn vermin, what do they think they do? Old man, shut up dragon, very soon you will have a new carrier and you will only serve us, ha ha ha. Drake, they are miserable, they are just waiting for the leaders to discover all this, it will be their end. Elder 3, that's what matters to us, the only important thing here is you and your power that will soon be only ours and you will have to obey us. Thus they activate the machine and Issei begins to write in pain because the machine was extracting his sacred gear, and he could see how a green gem came out of his arm, being Drake, who tried to return to his partner but it was impossible. After several minutes the extraction had been a success since they had in their hands the gem where the soul of the Red Emperor resided, and as for Issei, he was alone suffering an enormous pain that was driving him crazy, and surprisingly the seals of the room ended up being destroyed due to the enormous power that he was releasing, and his arm became scaly since now he was only a hybrid between human and dragon, and in his eyes only a thirst for blood could be seen. The elders, sensing that the chestnut tree's presence was out of control, fled the place, leaving only the guards who seemed ready to beat him. Issei, you damn ones, I will kill you right here and now, and I will drink your blood and consume your flesh. Aarrgh. Running up to the first guard, he grabbed his head and brutally smashed it open, then began drinking his blood and eating a part of his brain. Issei, you keep going, and no one will escape, I will consume all of you. Thus began a massacre in the prison where both guards and prisoners were killed by the brown-haired man who had a monstrous appearance, and the only thing victims his saw before dying were enormous, sharp teeth in the darkness, and red eyes with a desire to kill. Time skip. We can see how the leaders entered the prison since they had been reported of a prison break, and when they entered the place some with weak stomachs could not hold back and ended up vomiting because of what their eyes were witnessing. The entire place was completely full of dismembered bodies scattered all over the floor, and it was noticeable that some bodies were missing parts. But then they saw a prisoner running towards them, but fear could be seen etched on his face. Prisoner, help save me, he is a murderous monster, he drank and consumed everyone in this place, please I don't want to die. But before he could even reach them, a chain with a hook stuck into the back of his head, spraying blood onto the spectators. Prisoner, no help. To be taken into the darkness, and grotesque sounds of flesh being chewed could be heard, and then the prisoner's body itself would fall in front of them without its head, and then a demonic roar could be heard. Then everyone saw how from the darkness some red eyes watched them all, and then disappeared from the place. Chapter 3. A week had passed since the carnage in the underworld prison, and it was still unknown who started it. In addition to the fact that they discovered Issei's cell completely bloody and with remains of his clothes scattered around the place, in addition to the fact that the blood in the place was from Brown, implying that he had died. That news left the girls completely hurt, since they had lost their chestnut, and there was no way to get it back since the bearer of the chalice of life did not remember where she hid her cup. While Issei's friends, or rather ex-friends, did not give importance to what happened since they still had the desire to get revenge on him for the humiliation they had against him. With the leaders it was another thing, since they were not yet ready to give the news that the pillar of the alliance had died, and that this would cause political instability in all factions. On the other hand, with the elders they had already obtained what they wanted. The power was in their hands and they planned to use it with their most faithful pawn who only served them, and in order for the dragon to cooperate, they used a forbidden spell so that the dragon, against his will, would give power to his living weapon. As for the brown-haired boy, he had managed to sneak into the underworld even with his grotesque appearance, and was able to board a train that would take him to the human world, and in order not to be detected he hid in the place where the luggage is kept. He had planned to return home and take something that could return him to his normal state, and although he did not like the idea of going, he had to do it. Once he arrived at his destination he began to head to his old home and saw his parents through the window, who seemed somewhat sad, and even though they were his parents, he felt some hatred for them since they knew about what the girls were doing and they did not tell him, his son. Leaving those thoughts aside, he climbs up to his window and opens it to see that everything was in its place, and lifting a board he takes out what appeared to be a box and had the logo of a dragon carved into the wood, and opening the house he takes out its contents, being apple cider mixed with Red's blood, and drinks it all to begin to feel a great burning sensation run through his entire body, but he had to endure the pain to avoid being discovered. Once the pain stopped, he made the decision to leave since that place only gave him bad feelings. Taking some things he checks the girl's room looking for something that could be useful, and luckily for him he finds Zenovia's Durandal, which looks somewhat dusty since she stopped using it, and he felt sorry for said sword since such a unique weapon being used as an object it was unforgivable, and I have planned to return it to its true owner. Then he checked the other rooms and found nothing, but he found something interesting, an old diary that belonged to Rias, and out of curiosity he decided to look at it since after all they were nothing anymore. While reading some things without much interest, he was about to leave it until he reads something that leaves him stunned. Issei, plan to get the security as my slave. He begins to read carefully, and do something. Issei, in the end she did love me, but she is being manipulated with magic. As tears began to flow from her eyes. Issei, Reincarnation, I'm really sorry, I hope you can forgive me somewhere. But I swear right here that I will take care of killing this damn disgrace and his entourage of cheap boors. Leaving the diary in its place to retreat through the window and begin his journey to Italy. Time skip. It had been a year since Issei's supposed death, and as expected the girls ended up forgetting him and had returned to the arms of the boys who had an arrogant face since they could not get revenge, but they were able to snatch their women away, although they still did not feel completely satisfied with this. On the other hand, with the leaders, because of someone, information about the death of their pillar was leaked, and that caused a great stir in all the factions where everything became complete chaos. While the elders were satisfied as they had made great progress with their living weapon, they were still not ready and much less prepared for combat, as they could barely control the dragon's power as it managed to deny, or rather cooperate. While with Issei he had managed to reach Italy, where he went to a church and gave the Durandal to its owner, being a papacy who felt very sorry for his student and his apprentice for having abandoned his sword and faithful combat companion. Before Issei left, the Pope recommended that the brown-haired boy work as a mercenary since he had the looks to be one, and he thought about it for a while until he ended up accepting. Where his father trained him in everything he knew, and thanks to his hybrid body he made great progress. Although one day they were ambushed by leftover members of the Chaos Brigade who had one goal: revenge on the culprit who ruined everything their master wanted to achieve. But in a moment of carelessness of father he was about to receive an attack on the back, but the brown-haired boy anticipated that, and used himself as a shield, which caused 58% of his face to be burned, and as he did not have phoenix tears to heal himself he had to keep his face bandaged for several more weeks until the day he came to remove them. Only to see that his face had become deformed and that his jaw was exposed, and he had lost all his hair. Not wanting to be seen like this, he ended up putting a television on his head and swore to never take it off, and when he was completely recovered the Pope had given him some treasures so that he could start his business as a well-trained and well-armed mercenary. Chapter 4. Time skip 8 years. Many years have passed since Issei supposedly died, and in that time things with the factions managed to stabilize more or less, and in honor of their hero they made a statue to always remember him, but as time went by they forgot about him, and the statue ended up being forgotten, but there were still people who remembered him being children. With the girls, they ended up marrying their partners except for some, since they felt that what they did to Issei was wrong, but it only took a couple of months for them to end up forgetting about it, and start their families. While with the elders they had not made much progress since the dragon refused to help them, and that frustrated many plans they had for the future. While with Issei during that period of time he began his business as a mercenary doing underworld contracts such as kidnappings, extortion, assassinations, killing corrupt politicians, dictators and many other things. He also ended up earning his nickname, which was several among them: Dark Death, Shadow, Silent Assassin, Beast, Ruthless, but the one that suited him best was Konig. But his desire to kill would not leave him alone, and he wanted more, so he began making deals with supernatural beings to earn a living. Also during that time he practiced with firearms so as not to always be dependent on his power, since just by using it they would know it was him, and to avoid that he entered Grigory's faction to take something from Azazel, being an amulet that could hide both the presence and the power of his bearer, making him an unknown individual. And he also took the opportunity to steal some things that would be useful to him later in his plans. So as time went by his name he began to gain fame, and he also attracted more clients who hired him to carry out missions. But something he hated was betrayal, and to show that he was not playing with the public on the networks, how he murdered, dismembered and above all humiliated to death the clients who did not pay him, causing panic and fear in his other clients, and they thought twice before wanting to stab him in the back. Current events: underground bunker. Inside what was previously an abandoned Nazi bunker ended up becoming the base of operations of our protagonist, who ended up renovating it to his liking, and as it was several meters deep he hired people to remodel it to his liking by installing an elevator to go down to the different levels that were there. But of course the end result was killing all those who fixed the bunker, since there could be no witnesses, much less informants. The bunker was large, measuring a total of 9 stories deep. On the first floor was his operations room, where he had a complete satellite map of the world, and where his missions or contracts were. The second floor was the equipment area, where a lot of tactical equipment was housed as well as a lot of clothing. The third floor was the armory, which was much larger and full of military weapons and ammunition of all kinds. On the fourth floor was his workshop/gunsmith, where he modified and repaired his weapons or vehicles. The fifth floor was a much larger safe where he kept his riches, since being a dragon he could not control his desire to claim the loot, and also his hunting trophies. The sixth floor was a hydroponic greenhouse with solar panels to keep it always well fed. On the seventh floor was his all-terrain vehicle room, and where he kept everything: tanks, plans and much more. It was also gigantic enough to be the largest. The eighth floor was his bedroom, where he could rest without any noise bothering him, and was equipped with some things to keep him distracted. And finally, on the ninth floor, that was his water and oil extractor, since he discovered a source of potable underground water, and further down, a crude oil pit where he extracted the material for the gasoline for his vehicles and important parts of the bunker that ran on fuel. Technically he lived in the best way that anyone could wish to live, and it was a completely secret place, and they would never be able to find him. Issei, it's been more than 8 years since that horrible day when I discovered the truth about those sluts in heat, and that they married those idiots, proving that what they supposedly felt for me was only temporary, and nothing more than ironic. To sit at his desk while he cleaned his gun, but then he receives a message and sees that it was an assassination mission, and when he looked at who he had to kill his smile grew. Issei, well, it seems that fate wants me to meet them again, so what does it matter? Leaving the satellite intercom on the table, revealing what the mission said. Assassination mission. Target: Raizer Phoenix. Mission reward: $20 million. Issei, it's time to hunt a stupid bird, ha 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 ha. Go down to your equipment room and start equipping yourself, and then go down to the armory and grab a modified pistol, his ballistic knife and his modified Grau 5.56. Issei, alright, it's time to go hunting. In another part of it you can see Raizer with a smug face looking at himself in a mirror, since he was about to hunt Sona Citri, and that made him have that face, since even though he doesn't have the grammar, he will have fun with the Ice Queen, and all thanks to the elders who forced her to hunt him, or her clan would suffer consequences. Reiser, with that stupid Issei I'll finally die and I'll be able to fulfill my goals. It's a shame that idiot Saji didn't manage to make her fall in love with me, and now she'll be mine, just like her entire entourage will be in my bed, ha 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 ha, and I'll have fun breaking them mentally until they readjust my bores. Elsewhere, you can see the leader of the Citri clan looking very calm, as he had ordered the hiring of the most feared mercenary in the world, both human and supernatural, as he carried out his missions without receiving any harm, and that surprised him. Lady Citri, honey, why are you so calm? Your daughter is about to have sex with a bastard and you just remain calm. Don't you care about your daughter? Lord Citri, of course I care, it's just that I hired a mercenary to end that idiot's life forever. Lady Citri, you're serious, and you think that a mercenary will be able to enter a place where the strongest existences of all will be? Lord Citri, I'm just following my instinct, and something tells me that guy is going to surprise us. Lady Citri, okay, I'll support you on this, but if it turns out to be just a common, everyday mercenary, you'll sleep on the couch for the rest of your miserable life and never touch me again. Lord Citri, done, and believe me, that guy will surprise us. A few hours later, the wedding between the Citri heiress and the Phoenix heir was already beginning, who only had a lascivious look directed towards her. While she just looked very coldly at the Phoenix, and saw how her ex-friend didn't seem to care what was happening, she was just calm and hugging her stupid husband. And to her sister, who just watched all this without interest, realizing that only her parents were the only ones who were worried. Father, welcome everyone to this wedding where we will unite these two people in holy matrimony. Everyone just applauded. Father, tell me, Reiser Phoenix, do you accept Sona Citri as your wife, to love her and respect her for all eternity? I accept. Father, and you, Sona Citri, accept Reiser Phoenix as your legitimate wife to love and respect for all eternity. But out of nowhere outside the church, gunshots began to be heard and screams of several guards being killed. Sirzek, what's going on out there? Azazel / they sound like gunshots. Michael, I don't have a very bad feeling about all this. But then they saw how the huge doors ended up being destroyed courtesy of a cluster grenade. From all the smoke caused by the explosion, they heard the sound of a gun being fired, and then the father ended up falling to the ground dead with a hole between his eyebrows. Konig, I'm sorry for the delay. It's just that I lost my invitation in my other pants and these guards wouldn't let me through, so I had to force my way through. Just one thing, pointing his finger at Reiser. Reiser Phoenix declared you a dead man. Chapter 5. The whole place was completely silent. No one could believe what they were witnessing. A guy completely unknown to them had burst into the wedding, and they couldn't feel his aura, much less his energy. It was as if something was hiding him from them. But the sounds of several shots in the air brought everyone out of their trance. Konig, well, now that I have your attention, I'll just tell you to stay out of my way or else you'll suffer the consequences. Reiser, you're an idiot for interrupting my wedding. Die. Charging an attack that went to Konig, who did not move from the spot, letting the immense fireball consume him. Reiser, ha ha ha, in the end it didn't turn out to be that big of a deal. Konig, you call that a fire attack? You sure are ashamed to call yourself a descendant of the Phoenix. Konig was completely unharmed, leaving Reiser scared, who began to launch several attacks at him, but they did nothing to him, while he slowly approached him, but someone got in his way, being a blonde girl. Ravel, stop right there. I won't let you hurt my sister, but he couldn't continue as he felt a great pain in his chest and saw a knife stuck in his heart and began to feel like he was short of breath. Konig, hey brat, didn't they tell you to never get in the way of a predator looking for its food? To remove the knife from his chest, but he didn't stop there, but holding his gun he pointed it at his head and said, Konig, you're just a nuisance, die. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, he was hit and sent into a wall courtesy of Serorg, who went to save his fiancée. Serorg, hold on, someone pass me a phoenix tear quickly. At that moment a demon approaches to give it to him, but a shot destroys the bottle and another kills the demon. Konig, wow, that hit was good, but I still didn't feel anything. My grandma hits harder. leaving the wall and walking towards Serorg, who had in his hands a Ravel between life and death since her healing power was barely taking effect. Konig, you know what's funny about phoenixes is that every being has its natural predator, and the phoenix has its own. Showing his knife that had a purple liquid on the edge. Konig, they know that the venom of a queen anaconda is a very dangerous poison for the phoenixes since it cancels their regenerative capacity, making it slower, and every time they try to heal themselves they suffer a lot from the poison that circulates through their bloodstream. Serorg, you are a monster. Konig, yes, I've been told that many times, but I'm not complaining. To pass by them and continue his way against Reiser, but again he is stopped, this time by the Mao, who prevented him from passing. Konig, you know, you're getting on my nerves. I have a very busy schedule, plus I have a date with death, and you just keep trying to delay the inevitable. That bird has to die in my hands. Serzek, we won't let you kill him, mercenary Konig. Tell us who hired you and maybe we can reach an even better deal. Konig, I won't tell you who hired me, and you have nothing valuable to offer each other now that I'm not your way. Seraphim, you are annoying, feeling the absolute cold. Preparing an attack, but Konig throws a flash grenade, leaving everyone temporarily blind, and now being in front of Reiser, he takes it and says, Konig, we'll take a walk alone and you'll feel a lot of pain. Note, first run only. Reiser was thrown against the roof of the church and ended up crashing to the ground in great pain since that blow had broken all of his ribs, and surprisingly he could not regenerate. Konig, you know, I studied a lot about demons and learned their strengths and also weaknesses, but there is something I always wanted to try. Taking Reiser by his head and lifting him up to the height of Konig, who was 3 meters tall. Reiser, what are you going to do to me, damn it? Konig, nothing big, just wants to taste your meat and check something out. Reiser, wait for me to assahhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhh. It was the scream he let out as Konig had bitten him very roughly on the neck and ended up tearing off a piece of his flesh to start chewing on it, and proceeding to swallow it. Konig, it doesn't taste that bad, although it is a bit watery, but it doesn't matter. Reiser, you are a monster. Konig, you know better than to finish you off once and for all before the trouble starts. And indeed there they came to try to save the phoenix. Konig, look how touching he comes to save you. I like that, so everyone will be spectators of your death. With the others, when they regained their sight, they noticed that the subject was no longer there, and that there was also a huge hole in the roof, and they managed to feel the presence of the individual outside, and a weak presence being that of Reiser. Azazel, we have to go quickly and stop him before he kills him. They all took out their wings and went to stop the mercenary, but it was too late for that. Note the second video for brutality. Konig, well, my work here is done, I'm leaving. Opening a magic circle, leaving everyone very scared by the brutal and bloody way in which he finished off the heir of the Phoenix House, in addition to a certain fallen angel trying to use her ability to see his heart, but something prevented her. A week was more than enough for the rumor to spread that a mercenary was on the loose and was responsible for the death of the Phoenix heir, and his clan demanded justice, only to find out that the next day the entire Phoenix clan witnessed the death of their leader, who was suspended in the air with a military cable, and his head was impaled on a spear. Another event that also happened was that the statue that was in the center of the city of Lilith was completely destroyed by a strong explosion caused by a homemade explosion device. That statue was that of their hero whom they had forgotten, but upon seeing it destroyed they ended up remembering him, and it felt terrible to have forgotten him so easily. The leaders were in complete chaos, as a simple man had demonstrated his power and represented a great threat to the supernatural world. Meanwhile in the Citri clan we can see the Citri having some wine with their guests. Lord Citri, and tell me, mercenary Konig, how was the hunt? Konig, I'm not going to lie to you, I thought it would be quick, but it ended up getting a little complicated, and well, in the end everything turned out well, and thanks for the pay. Lord Citri, no, remove the opposite. Thank you for saving my daughter. Whenever I need it, I will contact you for other things. Konig, okay, partner, but listen to me carefully. I hate betrayal. If you betray me, what I did to the Phoenix Lord will be nothing compared to what I will do to you, understand? Lord Citri, I understand, goodbye partner and have a nice day. Konig only leaves the place to disappear into the shadows of the place. Chapter 6. We can see a blonde girl of normal complexion lying on a bed in a state of recovery. It was Ravel Phoenix who was hospitalized due to the poison circulating in her blood. It took a long time for the doctors to extract all the poison, but because of that she lost a lot of blood and her regeneration power was null since the poison had paralyzed her. His beloved Seror did not rest a single day since he had to be stronger to not allow something like that to happen again. While the other factions were on high alert since the mercenary had recently done something almost impossible. In the Hindu faction they found the god Shiva and his wives mutilated, and according to the autopsy they were murdered 3 days ago, but what was surprising was seeing many bullet casings at the scene. Then another attack occurred, but this time it was on Mount Olympus where the victim was the goddess of the home, and according to her testimony the thing that tried to kill her was not human, and thanks to a spell she revealed what it was. Everyone was surprised since what had attacked her was a robot. But Azazel, seeing it better, had his eyes wide open and replied that the robot was his, making everyone see it. Current meeting. Inside the room were all the faction leaders gathered as well as other mythologies. The leaders of the biblical faction and the main gods of each kingdom. Sirzek, very well Azazel, I will explain how it is that robot is yours. Azazel, well, I had planned to create an army of robots that would help the other factions and avoid more losses among our ranks, but overnight those plans were stolen and my laboratory was destroyed and nothing was saved. Michael, but who could have built it? Odin, we will never know, and apparently that thing is resistant. Zeus, that thing broke my statue like it was a simple piece of glass. Placing a bag on the table revealing his beloved sword in pieces. Azazel, amazing, whoever this guy is, he knew what materials to use to make it. Then they continued to discuss other matters. Meanwhile, outside the hospital we can see someone coming with a suit and some flowers, and he was not alone since a robot was accompanying him. Issei, come on Reaper, I have a visitor to see, and if anyone tries to get in my way, you know what to do. Reaper, affirmative sir. Holding a shotgun in hand. So they both entered, and as Issei expected, a guard stopped them, but he could not continue speaking as he received a shot in the head, killing him instantly. Issei, good shot, well let's continue with what we came to do in this place. Entering through the hospital door and approaching the receptionist who, upon seeing them, was scared and about to call security. She had a gun to her forehead, and Issei said to her in a kind voice, Issei, honey, you better not do that or I'll be forced to pull the trigger. The girl listened to him and walked away from the emergency button with a lot of fear running through her. Issei, good girl, and now I want you to tell me in which room Miss Ravel Phoenix is staying. Receptionist, on the 5th floor, room 237, please don't hurt me. I don't want to die. Issei, calm down, we won't do anything to you. You offered us the information of our objectives so you were saved. Reaper, you already know what to do. The robot hits her with the butt of his shotgun, knocking her unconscious, and places a rose in her hair to continue with what they came to do there. Using the elevator, press the 5th floor to go up. Issei, Reaper activates the field. Reaper, yes sir. By pressing a button and outside the hospital a device was raised that activated a containment field that eliminated communication and the possibility of using magic. Reaper, field activated sir. Issei, well eliminate all the guards in the place without hurting the patients, understood. Reaper, as you command. Thus they arrive at their destination, but only Issei got off since his assistant had other matters to attend to. As he walked through the halls of the place he reached the door of his manager/ex-partner. Issei, okay, let's see, bouquet of flowers ready, suit ready, Queen Anaconda venom ready. So he proceeds to slowly open the door, and there he saw her sleeping very peacefully, and silently he places the flowers next to the dresser, and with a soft touch he tries to wake her up. Issei, wake up sleeping beauty, you have someone who wants to see you. Ravel began to open her eyes slowly, and when she managed to open them completely she let out a powerful scream that alerted many people, and several guards were going to see what was happening, but at that moment the elevator opened and the last thing they saw was its end. Reaper, say hello to my little friend. Ending the lives of all of them with a single shot. To press the next floor while eliminating your targets. Issei had covered her mouth to stop her from screaming. Issei, if you don't stop screaming right here, I'll kill you. Ravel stopped screaming upon hearing the last thing, and Issei let go of her and proceeded to sit on a chair. Issei, very well, you are a good girl, and now let's talk. I know that we started off on the wrong foot because of what happened a few days ago with your brother. Ravel, you are a monster, there was no apparent reason to kill him. Issei, maybe, but my mission was to kill him since my client asked for it, but you had to get involved like that time a long time ago. Ravel, what do you mean by that time, not understanding that last part? Issei, well, I'll tell you, since after all you will die, so I'll tell you who I am so you know who your killer was. Lifting her mask slightly, what Ravel saw left her horrified. Ravel, it can't be, are you Issei-kun? Issei, bingo, you accept. Ravel, tell me why you did it, why you killed my brother, tell me why you did it, and how you are alive if we found your cell empty. Issei, okay, I'll tell you. Standing up from the chair and taking out a syringe with a purple liquid. Issei, first, what your brother did was for business since I was hired to kill him. Standing in front of her, and with a quick movement sticking the syringe with the poison into her abdomen. Issei, after why I'm alive, well, let's say that someone didn't let me die and gave me a new reason to continue existing. Watching as she began to scream in pain as the poison was taking effect. Issei, and you know what my reason is for continuing to live. Ravel, what is your motivation for doing all this? Issei, it's only you who betrayed and deceived me, and now everyone you love and know will die, and no one will be able to stop me in my mission to see you all dead. Those damn people are at my feet, and if someone gets in my way they would suffer the same fate, and that is death, who has now come to claim your soul. Pointing to a specific place, a scythe and red eyes could be seen from among the shadows. Issei, enjoy your last breath, Ravel, as it will be the last of your miserable existence. Ravel, I'm sorry for everything I made you suffer. I didn't want this to end like this. I just hope you can forgive me. Issei / maybe the old Issei would do it, but I am no longer than Issei now. I am Konig. Goodbye, Phoenix, and sweet dreams. Proceeding to leave the place. Ravel, I love you, Issei-kun. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I will still always love you. To close her eyes and release her last tear, and the heartbeat indicator had stopped, implying that she had already died, and then death approaches her body and touching her chest makes a sphere come out of her chest, being the soul of Ravel, and puts it inside a lamp where many other souls lay. Death, enjoy your sleep, little soul. To disappear into the shadows. Death, soon Issei-kun, we will be together forever. Disappearing completely from the place. Meanwhile, Issei is outside the hospital and could see Reaper covered in blood. Reaper, threats neutralized and executed as you requested, sir. Issei, wonderful, you did a good job, you earned an oil bath and an upgrade to your arsenal. Reaper, I can have your shotgun. Issei, it's okay, but take care of it with your life since it cost me a lot to steal it from Area 51. So they both leave the place, leaving a hospital, and not before removing the field, and to attract attention he releases a pulse of negative energy, and then enters a portal and laughs like crazy. Chapter 7. Once Issei and Reaper left the place, he released a pulse of dark energy to alert his enemies. Meanwhile at the meeting everything continued the same, some arguing and others having an interesting chat. Aquino, wow, so you're expecting a baby from Vali. Lucky me. I don't have one yet. Rias, yes, that's incredible, right? But I haven't given him the news yet. I want it to be a surprise. Asia, congratulations, Rias One-san. Kaneko. But out of nowhere everyone felt a pulse of dark and macabre energy coming from the hospital, alerting everyone, who quickly went to the place, but the one who was in a hurry was Serorg, since his fiancée was there. Once they arrived, they saw several doctors, nurses and many patients leaving the place completely terrified. Surzek, what happened here? Doctor, Death on the Move came to visit us. When they heard that, they didn't know what he was saying, But he just pointed to the hospital, and when they entered, they saw that the place was completely stained with blood and several guards lying on the floor. But then they saw one about to die and his face was completely traumatized. Azazel, what happened here? Answer. Guard. That thing had no mercy at all on us. It killed all my friends, and now I'm going with them to stop breathing due to blood loss. When Serorg saw all this, his heart filled with fear and he ran to his fiancée's room while he saw everything full of blood and scattered organs, and because he was in such a hurry he ended up falling many times on the remains of several guards, but even so he got up and continued running with the hope that she was okay. After a few minutes he arrived and kicked open the door only to fall to his knees and scream in helplessness, as there in front of him lying on a bed was Ravel with no signs of life whatsoever. Serorg. Everyone heard that scream. It was Serorg, and they quickly went to look for him only to see him on the ground crying and hitting the ground, and they all saw something that saddened and terrified them. There lying on her bed was Ravel Phoenix lifeless, and on the wall written in blood it said, "I know what you did and I will coming for you soon." Time skip 1 month. A month had already passed since Ravel Phoenix's death, and when her mother found out she entered a very strong state of depression since she had lost her children and husband, and no longer had any family members. Note, his other son, whose name I don't know well, died in the battle against the Caps Brigade. Her friends had to take care of her so that she wouldn't do something crazy, but she had already lost her life since she had nothing left, and one day, without anyone seeing her, she ended up taking her own life because the depression was stronger. When she was discovered lifeless in her room, it didn't take long for the news to spread like wildfire throughout the world. The demonic faction had lost another very important and valuable clan since they were the only ones who knew how to produce phoenix tears, but now they had run out of their most important resource, and what they had to be used carefully. On the other hand, for Serorg it was a hard blow to his pride to know that his beloved fiancée and the baby she was carrying in her womb had died. It destroyed him, and he swore to avenge her murderer since, thanks to an autopsy they performed on her, they discovered that someone had given her more of the poison, and there was only someone with that type of poison, Konig. From that moment on he did not stop training. He no longer wanted to lose his family. The elders were furious when they heard the news because their biggest profit factor had been wiped out, and they had now lost a lot because of it. While with Issei and Reaper they just continued with their thing, and when he heard the news about how the Phoenix clan ceased to exist, and that benefited him since now his head was worth a lot of money, and he had also gained more clientele, making him very happy about it. Also during that time he decided to improve his creation by improving it to a certain point. Present. In a practice field Issei was training as usual with his weapons and Reaper was polishing some weapons. Out of nowhere Issei's intercom rang and he went to see who it was and smiled since it was his favorite client. Issei. Hello, tell me what you want and who should I kill? Hello mercenary Konig, I have a mission for you, but it's not an assassination mission, but rather a recovery mission. Do you think you can complete it? Issei, just tell me what classification it is and I'll see if it's acceptable. The mission is God classification. Issei, upon hearing the mission classification, instead of getting serious, just had a huge smile as it would now be his second God level mission. Issei, tell me exactly what I have to recover. A blue cube is called Tesseractor in the realm of Asgard. Issei walked around the place, his smile growing even bigger. Issei, I'm allowed to kill. If things get complicated you can do it, good luck. Ending the call, and Issei couldn't be more than happy his greatest wish had come true. Issei, Reaper, prepare yourself and get the electron cannon ready, you will have your first mission with me, God classification. Reaper, understood sir, I will now prepare the weapons and the device that we stole from Area 51. Issei, you were really interested in that rocket pack, right? Reaper, I couldn't help it, I felt like it was calling me and taking me with me. And I'm not the only one, or am I? Pointing to the alien wearing a maid outfit cleaning a gun. Issei, hey, at least he's good for something and knows how to make a really good coffee. Reaper, well, your logic is flawless in that. Let's go on that mission, I want to stretch the shock absorbers. Issei, get ready Asgard since this will be your last day of existence, ha 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 ha. Chapter 8. We can see a kingdom floating above, and not far from that place were two individuals looking at the place. Issei, you know, Reaper, it's a shame that a place like this has to be destroyed. It makes me very sad. Reaper, that sounds like a lot of sarcasm coming from you, sir. Issei, well, this is the plan. I will sneak through the city with a disguise until I reach Odin's vault, and you, my dear colleague, will be here, and when I give you the signal, you shoot this. Opening the case to reveal an experimental weapon dubbed the Ballista EM3. Reaper, how interesting inspecting the weapon, besides it weighs quite a bit but has enormous firepower. Issei, 2 projectiles will be more than enough. So Issei uses a spell to become an Asgardian soldier, and goes to the city of Asgard. As he approached his destination he could see how everything was peace and tranquility, something that caused him discomfort and hatred since he hated this type of things and he never knew why he risked his ass to protect these people, but now that he was on the dark side things were more fun. While later he had already reached his destination and entered without problems, and using his Maro skills he stealthily passed all the guards and began to ascend to the depths of the temple. Arriving at a place where Odin kept all his relics. Issei bingo. Taking out AC4 he places it by the door, and using a soundproofing spell he activates the detonator, sending the doors to hell with a powerful explosion that was not heard, and once inside he had to let out a whistle of surprise since the old man had many interesting things that could be useful to him. So he looked, touched and took some things as souvenirs. But something more important caught his attention, a statue of a woman, and when he touched it he felt that she was alive but encased in stone. Issei, surely she was someone very bad to end up in this place as a trophy, but well, who am I to leave her here? So he was searching and searching until he found it. It was an urn that contained the flames of life, and putting his hand in it he felt that it did not burn, and he took a little to the statue, and slowly it broke, revealing a woman, but due to the centuries locked up she did not have her strength, so he laid her down on the ground and sent her to his lair through a magic circle. As he was about to leave, he saw something that made him smile, and he took the object to throw it into the flames of life and get out of there very quickly, but once outside he saw that he was surrounded. Odin, you are a fool. Did you think I didn't put an alarm system that would warn me who entered my vault, boy? Konig, in fact I didn't know, but I didn't care. Besides, I'm the least of his problems at this moment, but I think so. Pointing behind him to Asgard, and out of nowhere a tremor began to be felt throughout the place, and everyone witnessed something. Odin, damn you, look what you've done, you've killed innocent people. Konig, I know, but I don't care, and I'm leaving now. But then he dodged a hammer that was headed for his head, and there he saw it in all its splendor. Thor, you destroyed my home, and now I plan to finish you off. So he, his friends and brothers, launched themselves at him with the intention of killing him for what he did. Konig, and I was thinking of retiring peacefully, but I would be lying. Taking out their knives and getting into a fighting stance. Thus begins a fierce battle where it was 11 versus 1. While Odin was fighting against Surtur, he could barely hurt him because the difference in power was enormous. Konig, for his part, was very excited as he fought, and watched as Thor's friends and family slowly fell to the ground one by one. Konig, come on, come with everything, or else this will all be boring and will end very quickly. Thor, damn, that monster doesn't look tired. Loki, brother, I'll make an illusion and you attack him with your hammer. Thor, understood. So Loki begins to use his power to create an illusion, and about to throw it, his head ends up being destroyed by a shot. Everyone stopped when they saw that, but Konig was smiling as he watched the god of thunder fall to the ground with a shocked face at what he saw. His brother had been killed with a clean shot to the head. In the distance, on the top of a mountain almost 4,000 kilometers away, was Reaper with the Ballista EM3, and smoke was coming out of its barrel. Reaper, this thing has a terrifying range, I like it. To remove the magazine and prepare the other magazine, and you would have to wait for the gun to reload for the next shot, and his next target was Thor. Konig, wow, look, unfortunately, looking at Loki's lifeless body and then kicking him out of the way and making him fall into the void. In the end he turned out to be someone pathetic, ha 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 ha. Thor, I will kill you, you damn unhappy one. Going all out against Konig, who allowed himself to be grabbed and his face was sent against the rainbow bridge and dragged against it, destroying it in the process. Thor died the buck already. Raising his hammer to charge it and deliver a powerful blow that caused Konig to scream, but not from pain but from something else. Thor, still holding Konig, prepared another attack to end this once and for all, but suddenly his hammer was hit, and when he saw that it was too late, a huge explosion caused him to lose his arm and half of his body was destroyed. Konig had fallen to the ground, but he gets up as if nothing happened and cracks his neck and then walks to a very bad stretch and on the verge of death. Thor: Konig, you know, it's interesting to know how a weapon made by humans can have so much destructive power. For a portal to open and out comes Reaper, who had the weapon resting on his shoulder. Reaper: please forgive me, my lord, for missing the shot. Konig: don't worry, this is much better. Just look at him clinging to what little life he has left in this world that will soon be freed from the plague of the supernatural, and all through my hands, and no matter who tries to get in my way, he will only end up suffering the consequences. Konig: well, our work here is done now, we can leave here. Asgard has already been destroyed, and that old man Odin will not be able to fight Surtur alone since he is stronger right now. Turning around, but suddenly a red sword falls in front of him, and he looks at where it came from and saw that it was thrown by Surtur, who was in his giant form, and with a shout he says, Surtur, human, thank you for letting me fulfill Ragnarok. Take that sword as a gift from me and use it to make your enemies kneel before you. Konig had a huge smile under his mask and took the sword to see it better, and thought about what to do with it, and had an idea. Taking out his favorite firearm, he fused it with the sword, creating something beautiful. Note: this is the only mythic weapon I have and the one I use the most apart from the M4. Konig: it's beautiful to see how it turns into a sword, and besides that it turns into a sword, it's much better, 2 weapons in one, I like it that way. For him and Reaper to leave the place, leaving Asgard to be consumed by Ragnarok, while Odin tried to stop the inevitable. Chapter 9. Moments before Konig arrived in Asgard, we can see Odin in the meeting of the factions to discuss the latest and recent attacks that have occurred in their kingdoms, but suddenly he felt that something bad would happen. And that's how his staff glowed, and he knew that someone had invaded his treasure vault, and he had to leave the meeting without saying anything. Once outside, he asked Heimdall to transport him, but nothing happened, so he decided to go on his own using his power, reaching the place where the bridge guardian was, only to find him dead with his neck broken and his horn stuck in the back of his skull and the tip coming out of his mouth. Undoubtedly a disgusting and macabre sight, and that was how he called his soldiers and children to help. When they arrived, they saw the same scene and were horrified by the brutal scene. But the father of all gave the order to march towards Asgard, and once on the bridge they saw him walking towards them as if nothing had happened, while he had a very valuable object from his vault in his hands. Odin did not hesitate for a second, and when he was about to give the order to attack, he froze as his adversary had a huge smile, and his fears became real when he saw how the great Surtur emerged from within Asgard, beginning to destroy everything, and he could feel how its inhabitants and citizens began to perish before the great beast. And without hesitation he first went against the beast in an attempt to stop it, but it was useless since Siri had regained all her strength thanks to the flames of life, and then he heard a sound only to turn around and see his son Loki headless, and then another where his others are lost his arm and half of his body was burned. But I leave that aside, where he had to protect himself from a blow that sent him to the ground, and he quickly had to move to avoid another attack. But then he saw how Surtur stopped and tore off a piece of his body to turn it into a sword and throw it, and he saw its trajectory falling near that guy who took it and fused it with his firearm, obtaining a powerful weapon capable of stealing gods. And so he saw how that duo of monsters left, and how the robot took his son's hammer, implying that this robot was worthy of carrying it, without knowing that said weapon will be melted down. Some time later he had no strength left, and Surtur continued to destroy everything, so with no other options he went to his son, and with his last tear he witnessed how Asgard, the kingdom he loved so much and swore to protect and take care of its inhabitants, ended up falling before the imposing being who with his last blow caused all of Asgard to begin to collapse, thus bringing an end to an entire kingdom. Odin created a transportation circle and took the wounded and appeared at the meeting, where everyone, seeing his condition, went to help him, but he did not move. He only said that it was all his fault and that because of his weakness he ended up losing everything. They wondered what was happening, and he replied that Asgard had failed to the great Surtur, and it was all caused by its weakness. Everyone was surprised and at the same time horrified and asked who could have been the driver of such destruction. Odin, it was that mercenary Konig, he's more dangerous than I thought. Everyone was shocked upon hearing that name, as it had been a while since they had heard anything about him, and now he appears and destroys an entire kingdom without thinking twice. Everyone began to feel afraid of that guy since it seemed that nothing would stop him in his path, and they had to wait for something to happen to their facts, so they gave the red alert and began to distribute their troops everywhere so that if they saw him they could quickly warn them and prevent him from continuing with his massacre. Meanwhile, with Issei Konig, after another successful mission, he went to the place where his contact intercepted him and gave him the Tesseractor, and the subject gave him 10 briefcases of money and the object that he promised him. These being the fangs of an ancient snake that inhabited the world about 50 million years ago, and that are much more dangerous than those of Fenrir. And that caused Issei to smile a lot, as his knives would be thousands of times more lethal, and he ended up returning to his lair where he could be seen in his workshop looking at improvements for Reaper as well as a new project called Ethan. Issei, well, I'll need a lot of titanium for the exo-armor, and his exoskeleton will be made of vibranium, and I'll melt this idiot's hammer to create a good weapon for Reaper that is capable of adapting to his body. Looking at some schematics and then looks at his other project, but at that moment Reaper arrives somewhat dirty and stained with blood. Issei, tell me how your mission went. Reaper, excellent sir, look what I got. Taking out a huge piece of vibranium, causing him to stop looking at some blueprints. Issei, where did you get that from? Reaper, well, the objective of the mission tried to buy my life with this material, saying that it is very valuable, and when examining it with my scanner I noticed that it is an extremely hard and resistant material, and that it had a lot of this material, and well, in the end he gave me the location of a mine in Southwest Africa, and I ended up killing him anyway. Issei, incredible, without a doubt this is incredible. With this in my power I will be able to do great things. Reaper, soon you will have a new, much more resistant body. Reaper, thanks Creator, I'll be looking forward to it. So he could leave and go up in the elevator. Issei on the other hand went to see his guest, who was still asleep, and just seeing her caused him some empathy since she was pretty the way she slept, so he chose to leave, and once outside he sighed and said, Issei, good to work. Chapter 10. It's been 4 months since Issei Konig resurrected Surtur and destroyed all of Asgard, and at one time he was willing to save them. Now everything changed, and he became someone different, and he knew at that moment that being the bad guy in the story was more fun than being the hero. Also, thanks to his spy drones, he learned that the factions increased their defenses even more without knowing that they left many uncared areas for, and Issei did not waste them, and whenever he could he sent Reaper for those valuable resources. Also during that time he became very influential in the black market, buying many things prohibited by the government, and he also took advantage of the wars between Russia and Ukraine and the distraction of the United States to steal/buy the necessary components for his projects. Apart from that, he went to visit an old friend who owed him a few favors, and with his help he managed to melt the vibranium and Thor's hammer as well as all the titanium he had, thus achieving his goal of creating a new body for his creation, and this would be his definitive body, and with what was left over he would be for his other project that he keeps secret. One day I called Reaper to discuss some things. Present. We can see Issei Konig being in his workshop adjusting and recalibrating some components, until he stopped doing so when he heard the elevator descend and turned around to see him standing there firmly in front of him. Issei, do you know why I called you? Reaper, I don't know, sir. Maybe he'll give me a new mission or give me an upgrade. Issei, something seemed wrong, but what I'm going to ask you is to deactivate yourself and give me your energy core as well as your memory card. Reaper, because sir, did I do something wrong? Just tell me and I promise to never fail you again. Issei, no what? Wait, no, stay calm, I don't plan to deactivate you, I just want to transfer you to your new body. Reaper, new body. Issei, that's right, I just created a body for you that's much better than before and at the same time much more resistant, plus you can travel to space. Reaper, understood sir. Initiating deactivation process. So Reaper turns off and a chip comes out of his head and his chest opens, revealing his energy core. Issei, calm down my friend, you'll feel much better soon. To take the chip and then its power core and walk to a talk to uncover it, revealing the Reaper's new body. Issei, okay, installing the power core and placing the chip, let's power up this bad boy. To pull a lever and give it a huge charge of energy that activates the new body. Issei moved away a little and saw the body move. Reaper, all systems working perfectly, I feel different, stronger. Issei, well Reaper, or now better said Ashura, how does your new body feel? Ashura, I feel amazing, plus I have new fighting functions and activating energy boosters. So his body begins to float. Issei, in addition to that, you can travel at a speed of Mach 30, or the speed of sound. Your body is made of an alloy of titanium, vibranium and Asgardian steel, and not only that but you now possess the mystical powers of Thor's hammer. Ashura could feel a great energy coming out of his fingers and he was able to transform his arm into a knife nail, and easily slice the titanium bar without using much force, still surprising him. Issei, and that's not all, I will also prepare some gifts for you. That caught Ashura's attention, and he saw how his creator brought him 2 long boxes. Issei, first you remember the experimental rifle ballista EM3, well you decide to give it some improvements, and so it can use more ammunition. Ashura, seeing the weapon, inspected it for a moment, realizing that it had even more firepower and a capacity of 7 bullets capable of piercing anything, only it had a 10-second delay to recharge its energy. Issei, and I was planning to give this to you at Christmas, but seeing as there's still a long way to go, I'm giving it to you right now as an early Christmas present. Showing the other contents of the box being an experimental light machine gun. Issei, this thing has the ability to fire explosive cartridges or thermite cartridges with a maximum of 200 bullets, and a reload delay of 7 seconds. Ashura takes it and looks at it before putting it aside and approaches his creator and hugs him. Issei didn't know what to feel since he created Reaper. It was very new for him to know about feelings, and he almost never showed them, and now he was being hugged, and he didn't know how to react to this. Ashura, thank you for everything, Creator, I solemnly swear my loyalty to you. Issei just patted his creation lightly, making it clear that he accepts them and separates them from his Creator. Ashura, and well, Creator, what mission do you have for me? Issei, yes, I need you to infiltrate the Gremry mansion and steal an artifact that they possess and bring it to me for this. Walking over to another tarp and uncovering it, revealing another metal body. Ashura, Creator, who is he? Issei, Ashura says hello to your little brother Ethan. Ashura looked at him carefully, and then scanned his body, noticing that he had the same qualities as him, only he couldn't fly but he could run great distances in a matter of seconds. Issei, it's not finished yet since I need an energy core, and to do it I need that artifact. Ashura, what would be said creative artifact? Issei, you see, when I was still with the Gremry, the Hitchrias told me a story that many centuries ago one of her ancestors found a somewhat strange object in the human world, and it contained enormous power, but they didn't know how to use it, so they kept it as a relic, and I want you to bring it to me. Ashura, understood, right now I will prepare and go with the artifact. Issei, have this, it will help you find it since this thing measures energy. Thus giving him an energy tracking device and Ashura nods to leave. Issei, very soon the day will come when all of you will disappear from this world and everything will return to normal, and I will finally be able to rest without having to hide anymore. To look in the mirror and see his face still disfigured but slowly healing, to take his mask and put it on. Elsewhere, or rather in purgatory, inside a room, we can see a woman lying on her bed while hugging a pillow with the appearance of Issei Konig, and not only that but in the room there were many photos of Issei himself, even some of him taking to bath. Death, very soon my handsome mercenary, you will be mine and only mine. To kiss the pillow with desire, imagining that it was him. Note, I was a little scared to write this part. With Issei, he was polishing his weapons and sharpening his knives when suddenly he felt a huge chill run down his spine, and he turned around to not see anyone, but that feeling he had scared him a little. Issei, I'll have to buy some kind of crazy repellent. I wonder if such a repellent exists. But he put that aside and continued with his work while on a target table he could see that his next target was heaven. Chapter 11. We can see how Issei was preparing to do something very important, and he was also reloading his weapons and sharpening his knives as well as carrying a large amount of explosives and grenades of all kinds. Ashura, are you sure you don't want me to accompany you, sir? Issei, Ashura, you already have a mission to fulfill and I have another one as well. I'm just going to visit some friends' children and claim something very important that they have in their vault. Reloading his pistol and grabbing his other weapons and equipment he will use for his mission. Ashura, I understand, sir. Well, I will go to fulfill my mission. Have a great day on your bucking mission, boss. Issei, thanks you piece of metal shit, and I also wish you the best, and you know if they discover you, you are allowed to use force. So he reached the elevator and went up to the vehicle level and saw his most recent acquisition, and just said, Issei, let's see if this thing is as fast as that guy said since it reportedly reaches March 40. To get on and see that everything was working fine, he activated the mechanism and opened the bottom of his hiding place, revealing a waterfall, and slowly began to gain speed and shoots off like a rocket in a matter of seconds. On the other hand, we can see him flying through the skies with a lot of happiness in his eyes, which, even though they were covered, he liked this sensation of speed in his new toy. Issei, this thing is incredible. I should have become a mercenary a long time ago. Without a doubt, this is much better than being a stupid pillager, and having that stupid title of hero would bother me a lot, and now everything took an unexpected turn in my life and I like how it is now. In order to increase speed and coordinate their objective, this being the Vatican. Issei, let's see how much firepower this thing has. So you start to increase your speed to quickly reach your destination. Meanwhile, with Ashura, he had already arrived in the underworld thanks to a portal, and by activating the camouflage system he began to fly at maximum speed, and in a matter of minutes he reached his target, and to avoid being disturbed he activated the drones to put up an invisible barrier that blocked any type of communication with the outside world. So entering through a window he begins to search for the Gremry vault, and some time later he finds it, and without measuring his strength he ends up ripping off the metal door, but he did not give it importance, and goes inside, and taking out the device he begins to search for the artifact. After some time searching, he feels the machine begin to beep, implying that he was close to his target, and he rushes to find it until he finds a small chest, and as he passes the detector, it causes the chest to hold no longer up and be destroyed due to the energy it releases. Ashura, bingo, I already have the package, it's time to get out of this place. So he leaves the vault but sees that there are many guards, and among them were the people who hurt his creator, and he thought why not give them the same treatment. So preparing for combat he deactivates his camouflage, making himself visible to everyone who, upon seeing him standing there, a certain crowd couldn't help but whistle due to how advanced Ashura was. Vali, identify yourself, and what are you doing here? Ashura, you do not have enough rank to tell me what to do and who I am, because I am the one who killed the god of lies Loki. Everyone burst out laughing upon hearing that he was the one who killed the god of lies, but stopped when they saw several soldiers fall dead courtesy of a gunshot. Ashura, I'm not joking, I also plan to make them suffer for having hurt my creator in the past. Azazel, wait, your creator isn't that Konig, right? Ashura, affirmative, and now get ready because we will have a good dance. Everyone got into attack position and Vali and his team prepared. Ashura, I love this feeling I'm feeling, come and encourage my life. Inside the Gremry mansion, only many gunshots and several screams could be heard, but nothing came out of the barrier that was put up, and without anyone knowing, a robot was waging a huge carnage. With Issei he had already reached his destination and could see the Vatican on his radar and looked at what he could use until he saw a huge red button in the middle that said do not touch, but he didn't give a damn and ended up pressing it, and from the bottom of the plane a rocket comes out. Issei, I'm starting to really like this. Thus he locates the Vatican and without hesitation fires the rocket that ends up going through a huge window, and all the monks of the place and the Pope who was there saw how a missile had gone through the house of the Lord, but the strange thing was that it did not explode, and they sighed with relief. Issei, damn, it's a delayed missile, I have to make a call. In the Vatican, the device was about to disappear, but out of nowhere it started beeping and everyone started creating barriers, but it would be of no use to use them against a nuclear explosion. So he takes out his phone and is about to contact the guy who sold him the plane when he feels a jolt and notices a huge explosion in the distance. Issei, and there is the explosion, although it took a while to detonate. Anyway, what does it matter now? Let's go to heaven. So with his phone he begins to write something, and in front of him a portal opens that takes him to heaven. Issei, good morning Vietnam. Crossing the portal, some time later Michael arrives with some angels only to see that what was left of the Vatican was a huge smoking hole. Michael, oh my father, who could have done this? Dulio, I know brother, I can't feel any trace of magic in the place. But then they received a call from Gabriel, and she sounded scared. Michael, little sister, what's wrong? Gabriel, come back quickly, someone on a plane is killing all of Los Angeles and destroying everything. Take care hhhh. Thus the call ends, and concern could be seen in the eyes of Michael and his brothers, and they quickly went towards the sky when out of nowhere their magic circles were destroyed, and they realized that someone blocked their use, and desperately they began to try once more, but having the same result as the previous time. With Issei, he had launched several drones that prevented the angels from escaping with magic circles, and thanks to the clouds they couldn't be seen, and he just thought, Issei, this day will be the end of the heaven faction, and possibly, but I will have something to eat tonight like Venezuela. To continue opening fire against the sky, destroying many things in its path. Issei, I love this thing. Chapter 12. Moments before in the sky we could see how everything was peaceful and quiet in the place. Nothing was out of order, everything was normal like every day. But suddenly everyone witnessed how a portal opened, and on the other side they heard someone scream. Konig, G-O-D-D-D-D morning VITNAYYYMM. In less than a matter of seconds 2 missiles hit the sky entrance, causing it to end up falling to the ground. Konig, hello everyone, your executioner has come. To begin, they opened fire on the angels, who were falling one by one, and others tried to escape, but it was impossible, their death was inevitable. Konig, I'll put it on autopilot since I want to use my weapons. So he presses a button and a scanner comes out that scans him, and a command voice takes its place. By pressing a button, a gate opens beneath him, and he jumps to land hard on the ground, causing a small tremor. Leaving his bag, he takes out a light machine gun and begins to open fire on everyone who stood in his way until he reaches a house and sees many children, and something inside him was screaming at him not to hurt them, but a shadow whispers in his ear that he will kill them because if he lets them live they will retaliate against him in the future. So without hesitating for a second he takes out a gas grenade and throws it inside, and to prevent them from leaving he closes the door and blocks it with a column, and he could hear them screaming, begging him to let them out, but he turned a deaf ear and continued with his massacre until he ran out of bullets, so taking out his special ballistic knives he began to run while cutting his victims, and they felt how the corrosive poison was killing them. Konig, I love the smell of blood in the morning. Suddenly he had to put his knives in X, managing to avoid a blonde woman's sword from cutting him, and by kicking her he managed to get her out of his way. Konig, wow, look who came to say hello and see how Griselda is doing. Now that I see you, you're not that big a deal. Griselda, you damn monster, I won't let you keep getting away with this. Today, right here would be your night. Thus begins a very close battle as neither gave the other a chance to counterattack, and they ended up clashing their weapons simultaneously, noticing that they were evenly matched in combat. Konig, not bad for a woman, but you know I have a lot to do and little time to do it, so let's get this over with quickly. Griselda, I think it's okay, prepare yourself because this attack will be the end of you. Konig, let's go and see who falls into hell first. So they run out again to clash their weapons, and Griselda was trying hard to cut him, but she noticed something where the other knife was. Konig, you fell into my trap, idiot. Out of nowhere Griselda felt her belly being pierced, and looking down she saw the edge of a knife stuck in her, and she ended up falling to the ground spitting blood, and her vision began to blur, but her opponent only looked at her with superiority. Konig, you know why they call them ballistic knives, because one doubles as a pistol. Showing the other knife, only this one had the handle, and saw how he reloaded another knife. Griselda, You won't get away with this. Reinforcements will arrive soon. Konig, by then I will be gone. Now sleep, little dove. Watching as she ends up falling into unconsciousness. He watched her for a while longer to continue with his work and arrived where he wanted to be. Konig, wow, the old man sure knew how to do something incredible. It's a shame that he left you with a complete bunch of idiots, and now I'll have to destroy you since your mere existence will cause problems for my plans. Placing the explosive charges around the sky system, and then he headed towards the vault of heaven, and with AC-4 he managed to open it to be amazed by everything they had, but something caught his attention were the 7 fragments of the Excalibur sword, and he thought, Konig, I wonder what would happen if I combined them with my blood and my knife. To get closer to the swords that were floating and taking off his glove, he takes out his favorite knife and makes a cut to shed his blood, but he notices something else that made him smile like a madman, and taking what he saw he mixes it with the swords and an intense glow illuminated the entire vault. Elsewhere we can see all the dragons doing the usual thing, nothing, but suddenly they all felt a chill run through their bodies and a duo of dragon gods felt it too. Ophis, what is this sensation that I just felt running through my body? I don't like it at all. Red, I haven't felt this kind of chills in ages. Someone somewhere just created something extremely dangerous for all dragons. Konig, who also felt that shiver, instead of being afraid, felt desire and greed in his gaze, and taking the object, he could feel an enormous amount of power running through his entire body, and he liked that feeling very much. Konig, well, it was like that, now I remember. For the power of Grayskull, causing the sky to cloud over the world and many lightning bolts to collide with each other, as well as causing several earthquakes. And in heaven everyone felt very afraid as well as a feeling of insecurity. I have the Puddedier. All the supernatural beings felt it, and felt a chill run through their bodies, and others were filled with the desire to fight against him. Konig, I always wanted to say it, and now I'm leaving this dump, but first I'll take everything that's in this place. Thus he creates a portal and begins to put everything that was in the place, including a book about how sacred gears work and their weaknesses that he planned to use in the future, and so leaving the place he notices how his jet lands alone, and about to go up he takes out his sword to block a spear, and there he saw her who was somewhat injured with blood on her feathers and her hair completely disheveled. Konig, wow, Seraphim Gabriel, we meet again, tell me how was the cloudy day, right, ha 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 ha. Gabriel, you are a monster because you attack us, we have done nothing to you to deserve all this. Konig didn't say anything, but his gaze said something else, and in a quick movement, he drew his pistol to shoot Seraphim in the leg, causing her to fall to the ground due to the pain, and Konig slowly approached her. Konig, they didn't do anything against me, but they did hurt someone very dear and important to me, my dear friend Issei. You damn vermin killed him, and I plan to avenge him by killing all of you, and when there are no more supernatural beings alive I will be able to rest, and I will have avenged his death. Gabriel, upon hearing that name, something inside her broke because she had completely forgotten about him, and upon seeing that this guy was her friend and seeing what he was like, she could only cry and scream that she was sorry for everything she caused her friend. Konig, there is no more time to ask for forgiveness. Just to move on and remember that once all this is over I will finally rest and see the tomorrow of a grateful world. Goodbye Seraphina, and enjoy the view. So he ends up leaving the place, and some time later Michael arrived with his brothers, but what they saw left them all completely sad, and others, unable to bear the sight, ended up vomiting. But then they saw their little sister Gabriel, and on her legs was a sleeping Griselda. Both were injured, and when they approached her to see if she was okay, they heard her. Gabriel, we are all condemned, no one will be saved from his wrath, we will all die at his hands, our day of judgment will come soon and no one will be able to prevent it. Michael, little sister, are you okay? Gabriel, my brothers, this will be our end, nothing will be able to stop it, you are condemned to die. Her brothers were scared as she began to shed tears of blood and her wings turned black, implying that she fell, but then they heard a sound of something and knew they had to leave as soon as possible, so they took the few survivors, and once they were far enough away it happened. Everyone raised a magic shield to protect themselves from the shock wave that reached them, and once everything was calm they saw that their home had disappeared forever, and Michael could only fall to his knees and scream in helplessness. With Issei King. Issei, Well, now my next target, the only people capable of ruining my plans, the Oracle and the Sisters of Destiny, they all have to die at all costs. Accelerating to reach their destination faster, this being the most dangerous prison in the world in the body of the Titan Hecatonkars. Not knowing that soon in that place he would find his next ally, or rather ally. Chapter 13. We can see how an advanced technology ship flew over a certain place in the Pacific Ocean. Issei, according to this map that I stole from Olympus, the entrance must be around here. Looking at his radar, but nothing but from one moment to another his radar picked up something for a brief few seconds, and he realized that the place he was looking for was below him. Issei, so a spell to stay hidden, but now I've found you group of hitches. Taking out a golden colored test tube and breaking it, being surrounded by a golden aura. In the palace of the Sisters of Destiny and the Oracle they felt a disturbance in time and space. They noticed that a thread that was now unknown to them was covered by a golden aura, thus preventing them from touching it or doing anything to it. This clearly did not please them, as someone was planning to change their destiny and alter the things that are destined to happen. With Issei, he was still on his ship until suddenly what kept the hidden place was revealed to him when he saw the enormous prison titan. Issei, wow, you are ugly, but what does it matter? I have work to do and an oracle hitch to kill, so be a good boar and don't cause me problems. In order to activate the autopilot and program it to return to base, he opened the hatch and jumped without a parachute and began to plummet. Issei, how good it feels to smell the ocean as you fall into it. But from his left arm he redeploys a hook and manages to adhere to the Titan, preventing it from falling into the water. Once there, he begins to explore and notices that there are many monsters and begins to kill them easily and quickly. Having already cleared the path, he continues his course towards his objective, which is located deep within this place. Already in a somewhat high area he notices that he was in a kind of coliseum, but out of nowhere everything shakes, and he sees how in the distance a kind of incestuous woman is thrown against a wall. Issei, what an insect woman, how disgusting! I hate insects, I should have brought some premium-size insecticide. But suddenly where he was standing, a white-skinned woman fell next to him and carried two swords that caught his attention in addition to her good, well-toned body and her red hair. Kara, damn hitch, get down here and fight, you bucking hitch. Issei, wow, and with that mouth you kiss your mother. The woman noticed the guy next to her and pointed her swords at him, and he seemed unfazed by that, but they both had to dodge an attack from the insect woman. Issei, hey you damn piece of shit, we were having a staring answer, now it eats lead. Taking out a QQ-9 submachine gun and opening fire on her, seriously insulting her since she was apparently not bullet resistant. The woman, feeling the shrapnel bullets go through her body, could only scream in pain and, with the little strength she had, leave the place. Issei, seeing that he has already left, sighs to remove the empty magazine and reload a new one. Just before he could continue on his way he was stopped by the woman who had one of his swords at her neck. Kara, stop right there and don't try any single move. Issei stood still as the woman looked at him from all sides without releasing the grip of her weapon against his neck. After finishing inspecting it, he takes his knife out of his neck and leaves the place. Issei, wow, that chick is crazy, she looked at my whole body except my hick, but I don't care, I have to continue with my search. Elsewhere, Kara paused for a moment thinking about that guy. Kara, that guy is death walking, his body gives off a horrible smell of blood and many innocent lives in his hands. Feeling a chill run through his body just remembering that dark and Machiavellian aura in addition to his desire for blood and hunger for corruption. You'll definitely have to be careful with this guy if you ever come across him again. In another place we can see how Ashura Reaper came out of what is now only rubble of the Gremory mansion, and carried a blue sphere in his hands, and on his back with his other hand he held the wings of a certain fallen one. Ashura, those guys were really weak. They didn't hold out at all, and now I have new prizes for my trophy area. Among the Escanor comes out a very badly wounded Vala who was missing a leg and an eye, and below him was his adoptive father Azazel who was unconscious, but the bad thing was that he only had his body since he had lost his 2 legs and his 2 arms courtesy of Ashura for having insulted his creator. Vali, damn, that thing is very strong to be a simple piece of junk. How is it possible that Vala Lucifer, bearer of the White Emperor, has not lost against a piece of junk. But suddenly he felt a gunshot and looked down, noticing a large sound in his abdomen. From a distance Ashura had heard what he said, and from that distance he took out one of his weapons and said, Ashura, lead ritual, shut up once and for all, you are of a hitch. They shot the dying Vali, who ended up falling unconscious. Ashura, well, mission accomplished, it's time to return to base. So before leaving, he deactivates the drones and leaves through a portal. Destruction Team. Name, Issei. Alias, Konig. Rank, Colonel. Couple, Shizuka. Name, Shizuka. Alias, Death. Rank, Lieutenant Colonel. Pair, Issei. Name, Reaper. Aliases, Ashura. Rank, Captain. Name, I-453. Aliases, Ethan. Rank, Lieutenant. Name, Kara. Alias, War. Rank, Lieutenant. Name? Alias, Moon. Rank, First Sergeant. Chapter 14. It had been 5 days since Issei alias Konig went in search of the Sisters of Destiny and the Oracle. During that time of absence, Ashura was busy fulfilling the missions that arrived, and in all of them he returned somewhat damaged, but nothing that he could not fix, in addition to the fact that he was looking for his creator. Also at that time the other factions learned of what happened in the sky and how said faction ended up being erased due to a huge explosion that left nothing. Michael could only cry and scream in helplessness, as he had lost not only his home but also the vast majority of his siblings and many innocent angels, in addition to everything related to his father being destroyed. They also learned of the attack on the Gremry mansion, which was reduced to rubble, and the only survivors were Vali and a mutilated Azazel who no longer had his arms or legs and also lost his wings and an eye, leaving him bedridden forever. On the other hand, the council members, upon learning that another faction was destroyed, began to panic since that beast was still out there planning its next attack. The other leaders, upon hearing this, increased their defenses even further. Meanwhile with Konig, he was climbing a mountain, and behind him was the girl from last time climbing the same mountain as him with her swords and he with his gloves. Konig, you know this is funny, it seems like we have the same goals. Kara, in what sense do you say that we have the same goals? Konig, well, you want revenge, I just want to exterminate every supernatural being. Kara, but that doesn't involve you too. Konig, no, because the difference is that I still have my human side, so I am saved. To continue climbing, and once at the top he finally sees his objective. Konig, I've finally arrived, and now, taking out a knife, I'll finish off that old woman. He kicked open the big door and saw her sitting there. Oracle, Issei Hayada, or as you now call yourself Konig the merciless mercenary, was waiting for you. Konig, not bad, old lady, you already know why I came here to do it, right? Oracle, that's right. But tell me what you gained from this. I was able to see 2 possible futures that involve you. Konig, let me tell you, I'll give you the pleasure of telling you your latest predictions. Oracle, the first one where you are happy and none of this would have happened if the leaders had been honest with you, and the other one I only see chaos and destruction, and you sitting on a throne made of skulls and behind you a group of people who share your same goals. Konig, wow, the first one seems really stupid to me. But I think I like the second one better, and now it's dying. He ran towards the old woman and was about to stab her with his knife when he saw that she was no longer there but behind him. Oracle, you forget that I have the power to predict everything, and that thanks to my amulet I can slow down time. Konig, not bad, it was to be expected from a goddess, but don't you think I'll let you get away? Taking out a device and activating it, causing an explosion that destroyed the entrance, and Kara did not manage to enter in time, staying outside. Konig, well, now where are we left off? Your time of death has come. Oracle, tell me, Issei, why are you doing all this? What will you achieve with all this in the end? Konig, if you really want to know, then let me show you once I'm done with your existence. Oracle, well, come here and let's see if you'll be able to finish me off. So Konig begins to run towards her to attack her left, and right, but she only used her power to predict all his attacks, and Konig, seeing that, decided to increase the onslaught of his attacks, managing to cut the cheek of the goddess, who, feeling a slight burning sensation on her cheek, she had to move away from him to use her power to back away, but the pain was still there. Oracle, how is this possible? What are those knives made of? Konig, you notice right, these knives are designed to kill gods, and it doesn't matter if they are immortal or gods. They can all suffer pain and also bleed, ha 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 ha. Oracle, before continuing with this, you do not want to know your future. Konig, well, why not? Oracle, I see two different futures. In the first one you are happy with your loved ones and your betrayal never happened. Besides, somewhat blushing, she ended up being part of your harem, and you have many children with all of us. Konig, no thanks, that future must be horrible. Why would I want peace when this side is so much more fun and better? Oracle, on the other side you are sitting on a throne made with the head of Great Red, and next to you are people whose identity I cannot distinguish, but everything around you is complete chaos. Konig, that destination sounds much better to me, and now let's continue where we left off. To return to their fight, where Konig continued with his attacks, only now he did it in an unpredictable way, causing the Oracle to end up being hurt again and again without her being able to do anything but retreat and feel the pain spread throughout her body. Konig, just die for Buck's sake. Oracle, if you kill me, you will cause an imbalance in the entire balance of evil and good. Konig, that sounds fun, and now say hello to my little friend. Taking out the sword, she felt the power it gave off and was afraid because that thing radiated a lot of power, almost equal to Zeus' sword. Konig, this will be your end and also a new beginning in the story, my story of how I was betrayed by the people I was willing to protect with all my being. They hid things from me and made me suffer like never before. Just look what they did to me. Removing what was hiding her face, causing the Oracle to cry out what she was seeing. Oracle, since I couldn't predict that, perhaps destiny was changed by someone. Konig, very well, Oracle, say goodbye to this world. Oracle, stop waiting, something is not right with your destiny, someone else changed it, but those were her last words as she saw her decapitated body on the ground and how she was lifted by her hair. Konig, that doesn't matter to me, goodbye forever, and I hope your soul is consumed by the same abyss and darkness covers you completely. Dropping his head to the ground and walking away. Kara, who was waiting outside, saw the flying debris and saw Konig's silhouette. Kara, what happened in there? You found the Oracle. Konig, the Oracle is dead and I'm leaving now as I must move on to my next objectives. Taking out a high-frequency radio and calling someone to look for him. Minutes later a helicopter arrives and begins to descend, and the door is opened by someone. Moon Man, my lord, we have come to find you. Konig, thanks Moon Man. To board the helicopter and begin to rise to leave, leaving Kara, who decided to continue with her own things since she still had something to do.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.